Hello and welcome to Lapping Analytics. My name is Jimmy Lapping. I'm a psychologist and statistician with an interest in a range of topics, including the statistical forecasting of the outcomes of sports events. So here I share my forecast for the second leg of the Men's Champions League quarterfinals, which actually we have four matches which are scheduled tomorrow and Wednesday. Tomorrow we have Aston Villa versus Paris Saint-Germain and Dortmund versus Barcelona. And on Wednesday, we have Real Madrid, Arsenal, and Inter Milan versus Bayern Munich. So these four, of course, four pairs of teams also had their first leg last week. Last week, I predicted that Aston Villa, no, actually it was Paris Saint-Germain versus Aston Villa, of course the other way around. I predicted a draw, but that ended in a 3-1 victory for Paris Saint-Germain. For Dortmund, so Barcelona Dortmund last week, I predicted a win for Barcelona, although not that it would be a 4-0 win, but in any case, a prediction in the right direction, victory for Barcelona. Arsenal Real, I predicted a 1 or 2 goal difference in favor of Arsenal, so I had the direction right, but actually it was a 3 goal difference in favor of Arsenal. Anyway, a win for Arsenal. And for Bayern Munich versus Inter Milan, I predicted a draw, which, well, until minute 88 was the correct outcome, but then in minute 88, Inter Milan scored that second goal, and so they went home with a victory. So, what does that mean for the predictions for this week's second leg matches? First of all, Aston Villa versus Paris Saint-Germain. So, if you watched my video last week, you will know that I used the last 5 matches of each team in the Champions League. Well, actually, more specifically, the last for Aston Villa versus Paris Saint-Germain. Here, it would be the last 5 home matches in the Champions League for Aston Villa, and the last 5 away matches for Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League. If you want a bit more detailed explanation, then I refer back to my video from last week, where I actually explain how I use the different numbers of goals in these matches as information in favor of each of the two teams. But anyway, using that information, I see a 38% chance of a Aston Villa win, a 37.3% chance for a Paris Saint-Germain win, and a 24.7% chance of a draw. But yeah, if given that this is kind of an almost symmetric distribution, and Paris Saint-Germain already won with 1-3 the first match, so it will be difficult for Aston Villa to still reach the next round unless they win 2-0, then it should be okay, because the away goals are more important. So if Aston Villa win 2-0, then they would go to the next round. If it was 3-1, then it would be extra time. However, with these probabilities, I would say that this is going to end in a draw. Of course, it's possible either team can win, and in the end, draw in itself is the least likely outcome of the three. But with such a symmetric distribution, using the model that I always use, the my prediction here is a draw. Okay, Dortmund versus Barcelona. Here we, of course, have a situation which is even more extreme than for Aston Villa, Paris Saint-Germain. Barcelona won with four goals of difference. That means that Barcelona is almost through to the next round, and Dortmund is. Well, they would need to score 4 goals and get nothing against, and then it would be extra time. If it was 5-1 for Dortmund, then actually Barcelona would be through because they would have one away goal. So I think it is really difficult. Barcelona probably will not have the same incentive to give it all, because, well, 4-0 in the first match, it's difficult that it goes wrong. It's possible, but it's unlikely. And Dortmund, well, they're almost out. I don't know if they're going to give it all to try to score 4 goals, or even be able to do that. So in this case, apart from the last 5 home matches for Dortmund and the last 5 away matches for Barcelona, I used that temporary aggregate information of 0-4. in a so-called Bayesian prior distribution, and that results in the probabilities that you see here. So 31.3% chance of a victory for Borussia Dortmund, 36% chance of a draw, and a 32.7% chance of a Barcelona win. Again, a fairly symmetric distribution, so here I predict a draw as well. Real Madrid versus Arsenal. Actually, similar story story similar to what we saw for Dortmund and Barcelona. Arsenal won in this case the first match with 3-0. So Madrid would need to score either 3 goals and Arsenal nothing. Or, I mean, if it was 4-1, for instance, Arsenal would be through because they would have one away goal. So it's either win 3-0 for Real Madrid and go into extra time, or win 5-1 if you want to go to the next round. That is very unlikely. So I think here also Arsenal doesn't have the same incentive to give it all. They will probably try to just maintain, and they would be okay with a draw or even a slight loss. Real Madrid, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to, or even give it all to get to that 3-0 or another kind of result to try to get to the next round. So I would say these are, again, this is also information I use in the Bayesian prior distribution for the forecast for this match, and that results in a 28.7% chance of a Real Madrid win, a 44% chance of a draw, and a 27.3% chance of an Arsenal win. So here again, fairly symmetric distribution, so the prediction for this match is a draw as well. Finally, Inter Milan versus Bayern Munich. Inter won it won the match in Munich, so they start with a 2-1 in favor. Does that mean they can take it easy? Well, not really, because of course, I mean, if imagine that, for instance, Bayern Munich won with 0-2 or 1-3, for instance, well then Bayern would be in the next round. This is not a starting point like 3-0 or 4-0 as we saw in two of the other matches. So here I don't use any weak start information as I do for the match for Real Madrid and Barcelona, for instance. So here I just use the last 5 home matches for Inter and the last 5 away matches for Bayern Munich in the Champions League, and what we see then is that there is a 55.3% chance of an Inter Milan win, 16.7% chance of a draw, and a 28% chance of a Bayern Munich win. So you see the probability of Inter winning is clearly, it's visibly higher than any of the other outcomes. And that's why my prediction here is a win for Inter Milan. So what does that mean for the 4 matches together? So I predict a draw in 3 of them, and only in the case of Inter Milan versus Bayern Munich, I predict a win for Inter Milan. And what does that mean for the teams reaching the next round? Well, that would be Paris Saint-Germain, Barcelona, Arsenal, and Inter Milan. These 4 teams would face off in the semi-finals if my model is correct. Anyway, we will see how it plays out tomorrow and Wednesday. Meanwhile, I hope you found this video interesting, useful. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and I hope to see you again on this channel soon, for example, for the forecast of the semi-finals, which will be in a while from now as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.